Good day. While not strictly true in statistics, in practice, your ability to align with the key behaviors required for your role will almost always lead to a job offer. Right? So how do you find the key behaviors that are essential in your role? Well, let me just start by saying that they're not in the job description, because if they would share it with each and every candidate, everyone would prepare just that, would try to exploit the system. And this is why, they will hide these as good as they can, even with using decoys, such as, secondary behaviors, right? Recruiters and HR professionals are particularly good with these things, with hiding those core competencies, while, technical interviewers are less likely to be so good, but they're still less likely to interview behaviorally also. So what are some examples here? For example, have you been able to build trust in the past? Okay, so do your stories exhibit your ability to earn people's trust and to influence? Then, if so, this will not only be a predictor of success in your future role, the definition of behavioral interviews, but you will earn your interviewer's trust as well. Okay? Or another example, do you exhibit high level of ownership in your interview answers? This will not only mean that you will exhibit a high level of ownership in your future job, but you will be perceived by your interviewer as a hardworking individual. Right? And the same goes with other key competencies such as customer obsession, or you being a continuous learner, or being frugal, or being a good decision maker. Okay, so these core competencies are nothing new, are not particularly hard to predict, to have an overall perspective of what is the most likely to matter in these job interviews. So if this matters the most, and this is the most predictive way to pass these interviews, why isn't everyone doing just this? And the number one challenge you must understand is that behavioral interviews are hard. Okay, so I could easily talk about some of my best clients reading their answers from their computer screens while applying for director level roles with fine companies, but in reality, 95% of candidates cannot even build a story bank, right? So how do you know? Another major challenge with these things is, how do you know they like what you're saying during these job interviews? And building a relationship with your interviewer, being able to read your interviewer, is also critically important, because this opens up the opportunity to interview on your strength if you give a great answer, but also to correct if you're not going in the right direction. So the way your best bet at understanding whether they like or not what you say would be to build a great rapport with them. And this often happens in the beginning of the conversation, in the small talk. If you connect well with your interviewer, you will be able to determine whether they like or they don't like what you're saying, right? And maybe the final tip I'd like to share with you here is that there are many candidates who try to prepare on these core competencies and core behaviors. Some of them, with better success. You could even have an amazing story bank. But at the end of the day, the best possible, the candidates who perform the best in behavioral interviews are also the ones who can spot the behavior from the questions they're asked. To read between the lines of your interviewer's questions. So if you think this is simple, I'd like to share with you 2 examples as a closing here. So tell me about the time when you worked on improving the quality of a product, service, or solution that was already getting customer feedback, getting good customer feedback. So why would they ask you this question? Because they want to see if you're someone with high standards in what you do, right? Not necessarily customer obsession, but this might also mean customer obsession for certain roles. Or another example here. We all have things about ourselves we'd like to improve on at work. Give me an example of something that you worked on to improve your overall work effectiveness. What resources did you identify to help you develop? What was the impact? Okay. Why would someone ask you this interview question? Because they want to screen you on your ability to learn and your curiosity. in your work, right? So it's not as straightforward as most people think, right? So long story short, behavioral interviewing skills are and have been for a long time a great way to correlate success while interviewing with high-performing companies. So I hope you found this useful, and thank you very much for watching.